is Congressman Jody Hice. He is the ranking member of the House Government Operations Subcommittee, also, of course, a Georgia congressman. And let's welcome in Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan, the ranking member on the House Judiciary Committee. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being with us. This video is pretty interesting, Congressman Jordan. Let's start with you on this. Certainly looks bad. Gabe Sherman told Newsmax TV earlier today that that's not a suitcase. That's the normal container that ballots are held in. Nothing to see here. What do you see?
Why not investigate? Why not get to the bottom of it? I mean, John, think about these two numbers, 17 and 66. 17 is the number of witnesses the Democrats brought forward in their crazy impeachment process last year when they were trying to remove President Trump from office. And remember, all that was based on the anonymous witness, that we never got to see, the anonymous whistleblower who was biased against the president, worked for Joe Biden, who no one got to interrogate, no one got to cross-examine. 17 versus 66. 66 people have testified in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona in these election fraud hearings. 66 people. And the other number to remember is 200. Over 200 people have signed affidavits or declarations saying there was fraud in this election. And now we have this video. Now we have this. So why not get to the bottom of all this? Listen, were there only Democrats in the room? I don't know. Did they force the observers to leave? We don't know. But it sure looks funny. Why don't Democrats want to get to the answers? And why don't Democrats want to investigate?
A question we've asked, I don't know how many times over the last couple of weeks. And Congressman Hice, to you, Governor Kemp finally getting, the motivation, I guess you could say, to demand this signature match on these ballots. What took so long on this?
Well, I don't know, but I think there's no question that the pressure has been mounting with more and more evidence. And, a picture's worth 1,000 words. What in the world is a video worth? You see these people, and you can follow the time on this. I mean, the table was set up and the boxes placed under the table at 8:30 in the morning. Then at 10:30 in the evening, we have the water main break. And at 10:40, when the room is cleared, except for these counters, they start pulling the ballots out from underneath the table. And for 2 hours, they count these things in multiple machines, and each machine can count up to 3,000 votes an hour. This has, it absolutely appears to be a bombshell in every way. And I think that type of evidence has put the governor in a situation where he has to come out and say, look, we've got to investigate this further, and at least we need a verification. We're going to have an audit to do so.
Yeah, I just got my hands on a new lawsuit that was filed by the Trump legal team in Georgia. It seems to be kind of similar, Congressman Jordan, in what's happening in Pennsylvania, where, this case very well may go to the Supreme Court. That's what Professor Alan Dershowitz seems to think is going to happen here. So let's talk about that. Republican lawmakers are asking the Supreme Court now to block the certification in Pennsylvania. Yeah. The same thing happening in Georgia with this new lawsuit. A complaint filed yesterday in Pennsylvania. They argued that the expanded absentee voting procedures created these two tiers of voters. So if you voted per the rules normally that were assigned by the state legislature, you were treated unfairly, according to this lawsuit. Now, we had Professor Dershowitz saying this. Let's take a listen.
I think the Pennsylvania case will eventually get to the Supreme Court, but you have to have trials and records. You can't just assert fraud. You have to prove it.
And I think we're getting closer to that point. Don't you agree, Congressman Jordan?
Yeah, and I hope it does get to the Supreme Court. I hope we can get to the answer to this. Here's what else I think is so important, John. 74 million Americans voted for President Trump. Polling shows that more than 70% of that number think the election was stolen. So think about it this way. More than 50 million people think there are major problems with this election, that it's not credible. That is 1/3 of the entire electorate. When you have 1/3 of the people who participated in a national election, a presidential election, who think it was false, you had better exhaust every avenue you have to get to the truth. And remember, we still have time. The Electoral College doesn't meet for 10 days. Congress doesn't certify the results until January 6th. We have time to dig into this and figure it out, and time to get this case in front of the Supreme Court and get all the facts for the American people. I would argue it's not just good for the president, not just good for the 74 million Americans who voted for him. It's good for the country, because you cannot have 1/3 of the electorate, more than 1/3 of the electorate, thinking that there is no integrity in our election process.
Yeah, if you do, then, every election from here on out is going to have this cloud hanging over it. It's going to cause major problems. Real quick, guys, what are we hearing about Congressman Mo Brooks? He's saying he's going to stand in the way of this the certification in the House. How do you guys feel about this? First to you, Congressman Hice, and then to you, Congressman Jordan.
Yeah, listen, there's a lot of discussion about that. Hats off to Mo Brooks for leading the charge and doing enormous research and getting down to the details of what operates. But as Jim just said, look, when you've got a third of the population out, voting population, saying this thing is rigged, it's been multiple irregularities, and this election is riddled with fraud, then you need to look at other constitutional avenues that are available for situations such as this. And so there's a lot of discussion as to what's involved, how to do it. I myself have spoken with constitutional attorneys on this to get my head wrapped around exactly how this works. And there's a lot of discussion here on Capitol Hill among many of us as to what is going to take place. And we're going to continue having those discussions. Right now, though, obviously, we're watching the states where these irregularities have taken place, and we will take one step at a time as necessary.
And Congressman Jordan's been great about giving us these numbers and the actuaries, the date of which, the House will certify the election. What do you think about this plan from Congressman Brooks, Congressman Jordan?
What's wrong with having a debate on the House floor about what took place in the election? That's in essence what it is. I think Congressman Brooks, as Jody said, is doing the right thing. If we can get a senator to also sponsor, we will have a real debate for the American people to see both sides on the floor of the House. Senators and members of Congress debating what took place in Pennsylvania, all the crazy things there, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin. We should have that debate. What are they afraid of? Again, we have time now to get more facts out there, to explore these facts and these allegations that have been brought forward. I see no problem with having a debate on the House floor on January 6th, which is exactly what Congressman Brooks is pursuing.
Well, now that Speaker Pelosi has got the House to pass this bill that's going to ban the ownership of exotic cats, we can get back to more important work, right? The real priorities, gentlemen. I want to talk about Attorney General William Barr right now. A number of your fellow Freedom Caucus members publicly criticized the Attorney General yesterday for his inaction, his lack of curiosity when it comes to all these allegations we've seen so far. They said shortly after the election on November 3rd, they asked Barr and the Justice Department to start looking into some of these claims. Those same members are now demanding a full review of the election. Do you think we're going to see this happen before December 14th? And Congressman Hice, first to you, and then to you, Congressman Jordan. How do you describe William Barr's kind of lack of action on these investigations so far?
Well, it's disturbing. Look, our entire nation rests upon having free and fair elections. And if we lose the integrity of our elections, we lose our republic at the end of the day. And right now, we have tons and tons of questions all across this country as to the legitimacy of the election that we just underwent. So the question is, indeed, where is the Department of Justice? Mm-hmm. They need to be involved in this. They need to be looking at this. This is not a political issue. This has to do with the heart and soul, the foundation upon which our very country itself rests upon. And again, if we lose our integrity at the election box, we lose our republic. So the Attorney General needs to step up and do his job, and let's investigate what actually took place.
Congressman Jordan, what's your level of confidence in the Attorney General at this moment?
Well, look, John, there are 10 days till the Electoral College meets. The Attorney General's statement earlier this week, he said they haven't found any evidence yet. And I would stress yet. Look, we're still investigating. We just got new evidence that came out today. This video is, as Jody said, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So let's explore what exactly happened there. Let's investigate that. The other thing that the Attorney General announced this week is that the naming and the elevation or the designation now of John Durham, U.S. Attorney, who was looking at this whole Trump-Russia issue, as now a special counsel. Mm-hmm. I think that was very positive. I wish he would have announced that when he actually did it, which was back in October. I think that would have been helpful for the American people know prior to a presidential election that was the case. So I wish he would have done that before. But the fact that he's done it, I think, is a positive.
Yeah, and I would love to have you back soon, guys, talk about this, too, because specifically when it comes to Sally Yates, law professor Jonathan Turley talking about her, a lot of speculation about what might be coming next from her, specifically as it relates to John Durham. Great to see you both. Thanks so much for the insight. We'll stay on this. Look forward to talking to you both again real soon. And Congressman Hice, as always, go Dogs, right?
Thank you. Go Dogs.
That's right. Congressman Jordan, you can thank us later for the quarterback over there at Ohio State. Great to see you both. Talk to you soon. All right, let's talk.